Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook here with another Tuesday night roundtable, and I'm happily joined with Leader Adam Niemerg and Representative Leader Chairman Representative Chris Miller and our State Director of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Colin Mosley. Welcome, gentlemen. We've hopefully all made it through the Thanksgiving season. I know Director Mosley had a little touch and go going on there, but we probably don't want to talk about that much. But anyhow, gentlemen, welcome. Representative Leader Niemerg, what's going on in your neighborhood over in East Central Illinois?
Well, we everybody's gearing up for Christmas, doing their Christmas shopping, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and a Merry Christmas coming up. But I'm keeping my eye. There's a lot of things going on. First off, Hunter Biden, you saw the pardon. That's absolutely crazy. That's a 10-year blanket pardon for anything that he's ever done. But here in the district, I'm still watching the Department of Corrections with the issue going on in prisons with the drugs that are being smuggled into prisons. And I'm still fighting with the Department of Corrections on that. They're doing very little. So that's kind of what's going on here in Southeast Illinois.
Exactly. Yeah, and I watched a short bit Dana Lash put out last night about the Hunter Biden debacle, and she was going off about being banned from Twitter because she was passing that information around about the laptop, and they banned her from Twitter over that. But yet it's all true. It's just bizarre. So, yeah. With that, Leader Chairman Miller, what's going on a little further north in East Central Illinois? Oh, I think he checked out on us. Yeah, let's go to Director Mosley.
Well, snow on the ground, which is always nice. First snow of the year. I got through the Thanksgiving season, had a little illness going on there, but made it through that just fine and was able to eat my fair share of pumpkin pie. So, no, it's all good here in Blaine Wilhauer's district.
Exactly. Hey, gentlemen, let's get into our slides tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Biden administration as he's leaving the White House and the gifts that he has given to EV manufacturers. And then we're going to kind of close out talking about Illinois unconstitutional laws. And with that, let me pull up our first slide. And so here we go. Joe Biden gives out electrical vehicle companies more money on his way out. Breaking news yesterday afternoon, another $7.5 billion for Stellantis for battery manufacturing. This is like $14 billion here in just less than a week that he has handed out to two different EV manufacturers. Gentlemen, I'll just throw it open. Let's kind of go around the horn here as we talk about Stellantis, the Lion Electric, which is making school buses, and then the Rivian, which is a normal Illinois-based company.
Adam, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sounds great. Well, folks, this is just another example of government picking winners and losers, trying to push the green initiative in this country, as well as the state of Illinois. These companies are not making any money. It's a situation where we keep giving more and more and more to these green energy initiatives based on a blanket ideology and not understanding the actual makeup of what it takes for these products to work, the free market economy. So whenever you dump $7.54 billion into a losing proposition to try to prop it up, I think that's a pretty good indicator that the market's not ready and this product is not ready for prime time. And you drive down the road, you see all these solar farms going up, you see the wind farms going up, and it really makes you wonder. And thank God that Trump's going to be in office here in January to put a stop to this ridiculousness. But I just received notice from a county board member in Crawford County about folks worried about their property values because individuals are putting up solar farms right next to their property. And the counties used to have authority to be able to say, hey, you can put it here, you can't put it here. There was local control. Well, the General Assembly removed that. All of us voted no. They removed that local control. Now it's 150 feet from a property line. And also, when it first started, folks were getting offered $1,000 an acre, cash rent essentially, to have these facilities put into their ground. This individual in Crawford County was offered over $3,400 an acre. So the government is subsidizing this to a ridiculous amount. They're buying folks off, and it's a really bad deal for the folks here in the state of Illinois and the country, because at the end of the day, this does not put out the energy needs that we need, and it's a losing proposition.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, that's an excellent point you bring up. All of the above on on what Adam is saying is absolutely true. It seems like that they just want to double down on a bad idea, that they can't admit that these policies have failed. The green bad deal is nothing but a scam to try to control and manipulate people, as well as destroying the economy, especially where we live, where we are natural resource rich in coal and oil, and they've done everything to destroy the economy in downstate Illinois. It's I thought maybe they're working on rural tourism where they could have tours of these dinosaurs that are planted out in the middle of these fields or something, because it's just a matter of time where they can't print enough money to prop this bad idea up and make it work. The beautiful thing about it being a free market capitalistic society is the market drives the product. And obviously, the market isn't interested in buying what the Democrats are selling. And it's time to scrap the whole doggone thing and throw it in the trash where it belongs, as I've been saying for the last couple of years.
That's right. Well,
Yep.
just to add real quick to that, I think two things. Brad, I'm so glad that we went to EV Day at the governor's mansion, because I continue to get a good laugh out of that. Because let's see, two of the biggest features there, Rivian, that only exists because of billions of dollars in lifelines from the federal and state government. So, the governor showcasing a failing EV company, like he would showcase failing everything. And then, EV maker, I think he took a picture in the electric school bus. And Lion, and here we are, they're, nearing a creditor deadline, losing money. And now we have Stellantis, which hopefully, as Adam mentioned, hopefully President Trump can put a stop to this. They're going to try to ram this through in the next month and a half before the inauguration. But hopefully there's a reversal possible. But all of these things, I look at this and I think, back on the Illinois side, we're facing a $3 billion budget deficit. We talked about last week how the illegal immigration spending is a good first place to cut. Well, I think maybe step number 2 is to start cutting our subsidies for these failing companies that nobody wants their product.
Exactly. Yeah. And gentlemen, I run the numbers last night. It looks like Rivian has got 3 losing quarters in a row so far this year. They've lost $3.62 billion. And it looks like they've made about 37,000 vehicles. So is that roughly $100,000 per vehicle that they're losing?
Yes.
It's just crazy, the loss that these guys are generating, and the state and the feds continue to throw money at it like it's candy at a parade. The other thing is, no, exactly. The other thing too, I just read in the Tribune just a couple of days ago that Senator Bill Cunningham is going to introduce new legislation about adding batteries to the missing piece to this whole Clean Energy Jobs Act that was passed 3 years ago, that this is really important. It's just amazing. The further we go, these guys just keep finding these missing pieces to really bad legislation. And it doesn't help. It only makes it worse. And then we're starting to see that some of these coal-fired or gas-fired plants that are due to shut down, they're changing their plans because there's not enough baseload generation here. In spite of the legislation that was passed, there's just not enough baseload generation to keep the power flowing to everybody in this state.
I think that's an excellent point. And I mean, one of the current things is that just came out in the last few days is the Lion plant there in Joliet shutting down. And, they were promising that they were going to employ almost 750 employees. They've been in business for 18 months. They lost about $20 million the first year, and they've lost close to $34.5 million this year. And basically everybody's gone and they're shutting down the plant. It's just a matter of putting it back into mothballs once again. And the interesting thing about it is you see no conversation from J.B. Pritzker or the 2 senators from Illinois that were there for the ribbon cutting ceremony when they, and the thing that people need to realize, the government doesn't have any money unless they confiscate it from us. The state of Illinois doesn't have any money unless they confiscate it from us. So when they're talking about giving them government money, they're giving them tax dollars, which hardworking Illinoisans are struggling to pay the to buy a loaf of bread, to pay their electric bill. Every quality of life issue is going in the toilet because of bad public policies that these clowns have generated. They actually ought to go to work for Barnum and Bailey. Except they
Yeah,
don't. I think they passed a law that we couldn't have circuses in Illinois anymore
right,
because of poor elephants, but
right,
whatever.
right. Gentlemen, let's move on to our next topic. And we talk about this way too regularly. It's the unconstitutional lawmaking. Seems to be the Democrats' favorite pastime. I know they have lots of favorite pastimes, but this business of passing laws that are unconstitutional, the law-abiding citizens have to go to court, spend their money on to defend and keep their rights. It's just off the charts. So we see stuff here about the gun ban, the attack on the crisis pregnancy centers, trying to change the rules midstream about how candidates run for office that was ruled unconstitutional back this spring. Gentlemen, I'll just let's go to Adam and then maybe Chris to kind of comment, and then Colin if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, this is something we could spend a lot of time on. I'll try to summarize this as best I can because I'm getting little flashbacks of session and what happened with each one of these topics. So the firearm registration and ban overturned by federal judge currently in courts. So just to sum that up is exactly what I just said. But what this does is this does not have a TRO applied to it. So right now it is still illegal to buy certain firearms in the state of Illinois. So hopefully that goes to the Supreme Court in D.C. and that's overturned because from day one we said that was unconstitutional. The second, attacks on crisis pregnancy centers overturned by courts. This was something that I worked very hard on, and I'm very, very happy to see that it was overturned. I set up the debate a certain way on that when it came to the House floor, and I was told, and the AG was actually on the floor, and I was told it was going to be a case-by-case basis. Basically, what they're doing is they were shutting down all pregnancy resource centers under the Deceptive Business Practices Act. Anybody could file a complaint, and the AG would literally shut down the crisis pregnancy centers under the Deceptive Business Practices Act. That was deemed unconstitutional. This was a very, very, very important win as far as, all of us are pro-life here. This was very, very important because they literally would have shut them down here in the state of Illinois. The preventing candidates from slating and running for office, that was overturned by courts. They constantly said that we're a threat to democracy, that Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. These folks literally a week before, not even that, this was days before the slating process was set to be turned in. So you go out and you get your petitions. You decide that I'm going to run for office and I'm going to run against a Democrat or Republican. You get your petitions, then you go to the State Board of Elections and you're placed on the ballot if nobody had ran in the primary on your particular side of the aisle. This was literally days before this process was to be done. The Democrats came in and said, nope, we're getting rid of slating, not going to happen, because they were scared about losing seats, about their candidates losing. They actually used the legislature to change the laws to favor power for them. This is election interference 101. I mean, I couldn't believe this. And they run around saying Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. This bill was actually signed minutes before people were turning in their paperwork. That's how bad this was. So when you talk about a threat to democracy, the biggest existential threat to democracy is the Democrat Party, as far as I'm concerned. So I'll turn that over to Chris, but there's a lot of meat here.
Yeah. Well, Chris, you know what? The Democrats, they talk about the threat to democracy, but to save the democracy, they have to upend a democracy to save the democracy. It's just hypocritical at best. I know you have lots of thoughts on this subject.
I know that there has to be a shout out to our founding fathers because they were smart enough to know that the last thing that they ever wanted was a democracy. And that's the reason why we have a constitutional representative republic, where we're governed by law, governed by the Constitution. And unfortunately, the Democrats aren't interested in the law or the Constitution. They're constantly trying to attack those and water them down. So that's one thing, is that that it's impossible. I think it was James Madison that made the comment that our Constitution was written for a moral and a religious people, and we can see that the Democrats are neither moral or they may be religious, but they are certainly not moral. They typically have the morals of a tomcat when you, and no offense to tomcats, but you see a pattern developing here. Firearm registration ban uh, uh, overturned in court. The attack on the crisis pregnancy overturned in court. Preventing candidates from slating to run for office overturned in court. And I think that on all these various issues that at least one of our colleagues pointed out on the House floor that this was unconstitutional, but they didn't care. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the rule of law. They obviously hate America because every policy that they make is absolutely attack on Americans and on Illinoisans. And so I think that it's high time that the citizens of Illinois wake up and they fire these rascals because they need to go home and find a different line of work.
Yeah, exactly. Director Mosley, any thoughts that you might have, and then we'll maybe just go right into our closing slide and say good night for the evening. So, Director Mosley, any thoughts here?
I think, on the bill to the right, the one that sort of inspired this slide, then they passed a bill this past year where employers, were banned from talking about politics and religion, right, with their employees. Basically, you couldn't have a staff meeting and talk about an issue that they could deem to potentially be, religious or political.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear that from somebody that told me that we all have to sit through trainings about getting the COVID-19 vaccination. I don't want to hear that from people that tell tell teachers they have to tell kids in third grade that they don't know what gender they are. Come on, like, this is totally unconstitutional. It's an affront to private business. No wonder nobody wants to do business here. Mm-hmm. This is an opinion piece. It's from Crane's Business, in Chicago. But this is sort of one of the newer ones that we're seeing people are starting to make noise about as it comes close to its effective date. What does this mean? All it means is more liability for businesses because it's unclear in the provisions of the law. So you've got an open-ended lawsuit avenue for employees on businesses. So no wonder no one wants to do business here. But, if there's anything that we do in Springfield. Oh, by the way, what I love about all these bills that we've all talked about is I think that several of them were sponsored and passed by lawyers that serve on the Democrat side of the aisle that know better. They think, Gon Gershowitz, Costa Howard, they know better, but they just don't care. It's all about political theater. They don't care what the courts do down the road. And I think that we'll look at this other bill on the free speech and employer settings. I think it's going to come to the court too because it's completely an affront to private business.
Right. Right. Gentlemen, or Colin, I'll let you close this out here with kind of where they can find us and kind of what's going on with our communications.
Yeah. The best thing on this slide here, of course, is the Substack. That's where all of our information, we try to kick out news to you every week, every other week on what's going on, our takes on things, what we're doing. And if you like what you see, that donate button doesn't ever wear out. So feel free to click it every day if you'd like.
Yeah. And to that point, I may just have Leader Chairman Miller talk to us about, it's kind of the giving season. And again, if folks would like to help us out with support our cause, Leader Chairman, do you have anything you'd like to say about that?
Yeah, I think that it's important for people to understand that swamp creatures are created, and swamp creatures are created when the grassroots and the good citizens of Illinois don't support them. And so then they turn to special interest groups and all the above in order to be able to effectively fund their campaign as well as help other good candidates be elected. Think about maybe 3, 4, 5-digit numbers, 6-digit numbers, the more you give, the better that we can do. And right. But on the other hand, please like and share our content. And I know that Brad has a well-rehearsed line to go along with that, and I don't want to steal his thunder here. So. But anyway, if you
right.
Up, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Leader Nieberg, any closing thoughts as we wrap up for the evening?
Yeah, folks, thanks for tuning in with us here tonight. Stay educated on the issues. We always do a good recap of what has happened, what we think will happen. But just buckle up for this lame duck session. It's going to be a lot of crazy. coming from the Democrats. And first and foremost, I know I keep talking about it, is the bill to allow illegals to change their names and to have those records impounded so ICE will not be able to track them down. So this is something that we'll be talking about in the coming weeks. So stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Gentlemen, thank you for joining tonight. Thank you all for plugging in tonight, too, out there in the ether. And as always, like Leader Chairman says, we would appreciate that you like, share, subscribe, and follow our content to help us overcome the algorithmic gods of the big tech overlords. And so with that, we're going to say good night, and we'll talk to you real soon.